Ah, February, home of Valentine's Day, the day where you spend time with the ones you love, be it your lover, spouse, or your friends. However, Valentine's Day can also mean something else: murder. There are a slew of stories online of people that have killed on Valentine's Day, including a massacre of gang members during the height of gang activity in Chicago. And who are the people that represent them in court? Defense attorneys, just like Annelise Keating, the main character of the ABC series How to Get Away with Murder. Shows like CSI and Criminal Minds focus on looking at the evidence and coming to a logical decision on who to convict. However, this show is different. Unlike those shows, this show focuses on heart. And what is that heart? Well, it's in the characters. Wes starts off as an outcast, as he was only accepted into law school after being on the wait list. However, throughout the seasons, the other members of the Keating Five accept him as one of their own, and he becomes an indispensable member of the team. Season 3, Wes decides to confess to all of the murders that had happened at that point as a plea deal with the FBI in their case against Annelise. However, if the information were to get out, it would also implicate Laurel, who is the daughter of Jorge Castillo, the CEO of Antares Technologies. Antares planned on going public around that time, so if Laurel is implicated, it would indirectly cause Antares' stock to tank. Thus, Jorge orders the murder of Wes, and he is murdered in Annelise's home by Xavier, and he sets the house on fire. His death affects many, but not as much as Laurel. In the beginning of the series, many people underestimate Laurel. She's the daughter of the CEO of Antares Technologies, but she is not close with her family. In fact, the reason that she went to law school in the first place is so that she could fight for the people that have no voice, aka the very people that her father silences. Throughout the series, we slowly start to see that Laurel is a very smart and cunning woman. After Wes's death, she eventually becomes estranged from the rest of the Keating Five, which causes the rest of them to resent her and even fear her. But the reason she did that was simple. She was afraid that her own father would track her down and kill her and take Christopher, her son who was fathered by Wes before his death. Jorge had tried to take Christopher, but Laurel managed to take him before Jorge was able to whisk him away for good. Although her actions caused others to distrust her, at that point, what she wanted to protect above all was her son. And because of that, she works with Tegan Price so that Jorge Castillo will be murdered while in prison. And at the end of the day, she escapes from being implicated from any of the murders that happened throughout the series. However, another member of the Keating Five isn't as lucky. Asher, in many ways, is the antithesis of Laurel. Although he also does come from a rich family, he is firmly set in it and doesn't realize the amount of privilege that he has. At the beginning of the series, he is nothing more than a stereotypical frat boy douchebag. And if anything, many of the kids of the Keating Five saw him as different than them, especially since he was not present at the murder of Sam Keating. However, in the second season, he accidentally murders Emily Sinclair by running her over in a rage-induced state caused by her bad-mouthing his recently deceased father. After this event, he is unofficially welcomed into the dark side of the Keating Five and is cut off from his mother due to his father's suicide in the previous season. This event causes him to start to realize how much his upbringing affected his life, and he starts to change, and eventually becomes an informant of the FBI in their case against Annelise. However, this backfires on him as he is killed by a corrupt FBI agent in order to kickstart their case against Annelise. At the end of the day, he is never implicated for the death of Emily Sinclair, but his actions towards Annelise ultimately caused his death. Unlike Laurel and Asher, Michaela comes from a poor household. She was raised in a foster household as she was taken away from her father at a young age. Ever since then, she has been fiercely independent and does whatever she can to get her way, always. One of those things is to be exactly like Annelise. Michaela looks up to Annelise and wants to be like her, but as we'll see, she ends up becoming nothing like her. In Season 4, Simon finds out that the Keating Five planned on pinning the stolen key card on him, and in the ensuing chaos, he accidentally shoots himself with the gun that he found in Laurel's purse. As he recovers during the next season, Michaela is worried that his memories of the incident will start to come back and files an anonymous complaint to ICE against Annelise's wishes. This causes Simon to get deported. Although Michaela states that she did this to protect everyone, in reality, she did it to protect herself and her future. In the final season, Michaela testifies against Annelise and everyone else, and even though Annelise ends up being released from any charges, her actions cause a rift between her and the Keating Five, and she never talks to them again. In the last episode, we see her being sworn in as possibly a member of the Supreme Court. At the end, Michaela becomes successful. However, in order to do so, she steps on others to get to the top. As we'll see in our analysis of Annelise, this is nothing like her. Although Michaela wasn't the direct cause of any of the murders that happened during the series, her actions certainly caused a ripple effect right up to the end. Unlike everyone else, Connor doesn't seem to have a reason to be a part of the Keating Five, at least not at first glance. Wes was connected to Annelise's old client. Michaela worked hard to get where she is, and Connor? Well, eventually, we find out he is chosen by Bonnie due to a previous project where he exposed gay conversion camps. However, at the end of the series, we find out that he never actually did that. However, throughout the series, Connor does change and morph. In the beginning, Connor is a playboy that sleeps with people in order to get information to help Annelise win her cases. Eventually, he becomes Michaela's rival, and the two of them often compete to get information to Annelise faster, all while using less than innocent methods. And at the end of the series, Connor joins Michaela in testifying against Annelise so that the FBI can implicate her for all of the murders that happened in the series. However, in the end, he takes a plea deal that causes him to go to jail for 5 years so that his husband, Oliver, gets immunity. This is very different than Michaela, who just gets probation. Although Connor started off the series without much care about others, he eventually settles down with Oliver and even takes the fall for him so that Oliver doesn't have to go to jail. Although Connor and Oliver file for divorce, we find out at the end that they end up back together, so despite hardships, things work out for Connor at the end. Throughout this analysis, there was constant talk about Annelise Keating and her influence on the rest of the main cast. But who exactly is she? Annelise Keating is a defense attorney and law professor that teaches criminal law at Middleton University. She shows a hard outer shell, but she hides her pain and insecurities by drowning herself in alcohol at the end of the day. Despite her hard outer shell, she also cares a lot for the people around her and goes out of her way to ensure that they are safe. In fact, the main thread that holds all of the seasons together is that someone of the Keating Five is at the scene of a murder or is the murderer, and Annelise must find some way to cover it up. Hence the title, How to Get Away with Murder. A mystery that goes through the entire series is why each person was chosen for the Keating Five. At first, it seems that each was chosen for their academic merit, but as the show goes on, we find out that really only Michaela was chosen because of her academic merit. Wes was chosen because Annelise worked on his mother's case in the past, and Asher was chosen because his dad was a powerful judge. Laurel and Connor were chosen by Frank and Bonnie respectively. How does this show Annelise as a character? Well, It shows that she operates on her feelings a lot more than one may assume. If anything, the hard outer shell that she shows to the outer world may be what she developed during her life in order to deal with the hard reality that is being a lawyer that is also a woman of color. Throughout her life, she sacrificed so much to the people around her that it was a breath of fresh air to find out that she lived a long life and died through natural causes. Although her life wasn't perfect, she lived it in a way that was completely authentic to her and her morals, regardless of what others thought about her. And that's something we can all look up to.